This is the layout of the keyboard of a court reporting machine. And it's not like a typewriter where you type one letter at a time. You're actually typing, pushing multiple keys at the same time. And you only have 10 fingers, so you don't have every letter of the alphabet on both sides of the keyboard. So you use different combinations of the letters you have to make the letters you don't have. Like if you want to, you see we do the vowels with our thumbs. There's no I. So we use the E and the U together for the I. So if you wanted to write sis, you could write S-E-U-I-S, sis. You see it here, S-E-U-I-S. Now TK is the beginning D sound in the word. So if you wanted to write dad, you write T-K-A-D, dad. Or PW is the B sound. If you wanted to write bad, P-W-A-D, bad. Like this. Bad or dad. Now, somebody asked me, why do you use TK for the D, initial D sound? And just like somebody sat down and decided alpha is the best way to say A and bravo is the best way to say B, they decided TK is the best combination for the initial D sound. Now, we're not just writing the words that are being spoken, but we're also identifying speakers, and we're putting in punctuation. I think this is the way the court looks in the transcript. The clerk, plaintiff's attorney, or Q. I write this side of the keyboard, A if it's a question and answer. And this side of the keyboard. So the court looks like this, and the clerk, I write like this. And this is punctuation. This is what the court looks like, this. And I write the clerk, A-O, R-B-G-S-Z. The period, I write F-P-L-T, question mark, S-T-P-H, the comma, R-B-G-S. So this would be period, question mark, comma. So that's how we write punctuation. Now let's say you don't want to write TK for the initial D, you want to write PW. Well, court reporters have a database, we call it our dictionary. You can program it any way your heart desires. Now, say I'm going to go ahead and search the word cat. C-A-T, exact match. And see, this is my outline, K-A-T, because we write phonetically. So the software says, oh, this is the outline, here is the match. So that's what the computer translates. So, as you know, there's companies spell their names all kinds of crazy ways, like Mobil Oil. There's no E on the end of Mobil. And in Florida we have a gas station called Racetrack. There's no K on the end of Racetrack. So there's no way you're going to have every crazy way a company spells their name and every unusual name in the world in your database. You see, I have 67,000 words in mine. Some court reporters have double that. Some have less. So what do you do if something comes up and his name is Barry and he spells it B-A-R-R-E? Well, I know this spelling is not in my database. So what we use is called finger spelling. I have a program that this is initial B with R-B-G-S-Z translates as a capital B, no period, no hyphen or anything. And then you see the A, R, R, and the E. Now if you wanted hyphens between the letters, again the capital B is PW with R-B-G-S-Z, and then the A with a star I have programmed as hyphen A. See, A with the star, I have it programmed as open paren. The ampersand means glued to the previous stroke. the hyphen and the A. So people say court reporting is archaic. Why don't you just use voice recognition? So I'll try that with, his name is Barry and he spells it B-A-R-R-E.
I'm not sure I understand.
So that's voice recognition. So I volunteer at church for people who become deaf later in life and they don't know sign language. And we write phonetically, so sometimes the name Jesus is pronounced Jesus and sometimes it's pronounced Jesus. And so I have it in my database. Now, if they say Jesus, I could write Jesus, but if I wanted to write it phonetically, I just went ahead and put it in my database phonetically, like H long A with the EU is long A, and then the second stroke is Sus, A-O is the oo sound. So it looks like this. H-A long A, and the A-O, Sus. Or if they pronounce it Jesus, I can write SKWR is the initial J, A-O with E's long E. Second stroke is S-U-S. Now I've heard people say that they heard the name Jesus and they thought the people were saying Jesus, which is funny. Now in church you might hear the pastor say, "The cross has made you flawless." And you see here, all I did was write the final T. And you say, why didn't you write T-H-E? It's a very common word, and the less keys you press, the less chance you have of misstroke. So I just write final T. K-R-O-S, we're writing phonetically, so that's cross. H-A-S you can read. P-H is the initial M sound, A with the long E. With the EU is long A. D, the word made, and then I just write U with the U. And then TP is F-L-A-U, flawless. I write L-L-S, that suffix. I write it this way. I can't write it phonetically because less is a word. So I can't write that suffix phonetically or it will come out with a space between. And I have it programmed where it deletes the space. Now this is kind of the evolution of court reporting machines. This is not computerized. This you can...
I remember that thing.
You see them on TV with the paper coming out, you know, the court reporters acting. It's just the spool and the ink. And this court reporter would just set this next to her typewriter with this handy dandy little box and just read it on just straight type. This is the next, well, this is another evolution where it still has the paper tape, but it's also computerized. It has the floppy disk, and it has, you can plug it into a computer. Now, this was like 20 years ago. I had a machine like this, and the doctor was getting his deposition taken, and he had let his 9-year-old son come in and observe. And so the deposition was over. 3 days later, I saw the doctor, and the doctor said, "My son was watching your paper tape, and he said, 'Dad, that court reporter spelled everything you said wrong.'" So, that was funny. Now, in my last video, people asked me, why do you use court reporting? It's archaic. So I assume they mean, why don't you use voice recognition? And I've already shown you a couple of the reasons why, but another reason why is because many people have accents. Now, this Indian doctor said she had tree scars on her tie. And I knew what he said. Let's see what voice recognition does with that. She had tree scars on her tie.
I'm not sure I understand.
So that's one pitfall of using voice recognition, is accents. Another pitfall is with voice recognition, there's no punctuation. So the question was, when it says review systems on the bottom, what does that mean? And you can say, see the court, I could put quotes around review systems, a comma, a question mark. See what voice recognition does with that. When it says review systems on the bottom, what does that mean?
Here's what I found on the web for, well, it says review systems on the bottom. What does that mean?
Well, it didn't quite translate right, but you see review systems was not quoted. There's no comma after bottom. There's no question mark. And when a court reporter hears a sentence like, everybody loves to eat at Greens because they have good salad greens, you could tell by the context of the sentence that greens should be capitalized. In voice recognition, it won't capitalize it. That doesn't know it's a name of a restaurant. But you see here, Greens is capitalized here and not here. And it's the same stroke. Initial G is the TK, PW. Same stroke here, but this one's capitalized. Well, you see the software, this macro is in blue. And there's no translation. And the way that looks in my database is, I write 1SZ. I actually made that up. I don't know any other reporters that use that for this macro, but the computer matches it with this. You go to advanced, you can see the macro says word left. If it were 2 words left that I wanted translated, this would say word left, but just one's here. Now, people, like I said on my last video, said, why court reporting? Why not just digitally record? Well, one of the pitfalls of digitally recording is Bill Clinton was here and he was at a hotel in a ballroom. He was doing a speech and they wanted instant transcripts, so they asked me to do it. So I'm in the ballroom and the acoustics are bad and I'm concentrating as hard as I can. And a lady comes up behind me and says, "Oh, look, the words are coming up on the screen." And I said, "Shh," and I'm trying to hold on. "But the words, as he's speaking, I can see them. They're coming up." Shh, I'm trying. So, some miracle after the speech, I was able to find her and apologize to her. And she said, "That's okay. I'm sorry." She said, "I didn't understand how the words were coming up on the screen." And also, as far as digitally recording something, a live broadcast on TV, if you turn on the captioning, that's a court reporter doing that. Obviously, if you try to record it and then type it later, there would be no captioning. Also, another pitfall of digitally recording is you can't search. I was doing a deposition, 5 hours into it, the attorneys are arguing. The witness said there were dips in the cement, and the other attorney said there were chips in the cement. And the witness couldn't remember what he said, so I was able to go back and search the word chips instead of trying to go back and listen to 5 hours of audio if I hadn't been there. And some courthouses do try to cut corners and digitally record hearings. And one of the pitfalls of that is they asked me to transcribe one of them, and one of the witnesses was very soft-spoken. She had an accent. I couldn't make out, it was crucial testimony, I couldn't make out what she was saying. So I had to put in the transcript indiscernible. And a few days later, I was in the courthouse. I asked the judge, "What do you do when it's crucial testimony and, you can't make it out, it's gone forever?" She said, "Well, we all get together and agree on what was said." And I thought, well, that's expensive, getting everybody back together. And the idea is to cut corners. And the other thing is, wonder if you agree on the wrong thing, then an innocent person goes to jail. So it's not the right place to cut corners. A live court reporter could say, would you repeat that, when something's not discernible. And another pitfall of recording and then going back and typing it up is it's next to impossible to determine who is speaking and identify speakers. I was asked to transcribe one where the courthouse did use video, and there was a camera behind the judge's head pointed down at the attorneys. And first of all, the attorneys were this small, and then their lips are this small. So I'm like, who's talking? And I couldn't make out who was talking. Some of them had their heads turned, or they're looking down at their paperwork. So I was gonna do a demonstration. Cut.
It's okay, we can't see the screen anyway. Unless I get up really close.
Yeah, this was, doggone it, why isn't it? It stopped. Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to do a demonstration here using a YouTube video to make a YouTube video.
Wow.
Is it a copy or a Xerox copy of your signature?
No, it has evidently been conformed. That is to say, it is indicated with an S.
Is it stipulated that Mr. Roberts did in fact sign the original?
Why don't you show him the document that is included here and does bear their signatures? Then there won't be any confusion.
Thank you very much. I am sorry, Your Honor. Mine is a Xerox, as you can observe.
What document are you about to show the witness now?
It is still number 10.
I mean, which particular copy of it?
It is Mr. Beacon's set.
Your Honor, I believe he has defendant's copy, and I think, Your Honor, yours is just a makeshift set that was prepared afterwards. His copy is an exact copy, as is mine.
I got the tail end of the dog. Did you get the good end?
The one I have is a photocopy of some sort. Perhaps you want to show it to him, the one that is in the court's pretrial order. That, too, is not my signature.
This is conformed as well, Mr. Katz. I am prepared to stipulate that document 10 is a true copy of the agreement dated January 20, 1991, signed by the parties.
We will accept that stipulation, Your Honor, and ask that the document be introduced by reference.
I think, Your Honor, this is all covered by the opening paragraph under the list of documents where we have stipulated that whether it bears the parties' signatures or has simply been conformed, the document in question was executed or signed by the parties.
Yes, I see that it is in the stipulation, Mr. Katz.
Yes.
The only objection being reserved is as to materiality.
Wow, it's really neat.
So you see the speakers are identified, there's punctuation, and this is what voice recognition looks like. Just one big blob. And thank you for joining me.
Yay, good job.